Picture this. A man carrying quiet thunder steps into a place built to turn sparks into infernos. The live crowd eases into position. Stage beams intensify like a sea of unblinking gazes, and the pulse shifts with a rhythm you can practically taste on your tongue. Bryan enters the space with his signature relaxed confidence. But something unusual lingers in the atmosphere today, something denser, something that forces every equipment operator to lean a fraction nearer. Joy Behar waits at the desk, her expression measured and intrigued, the sort of look that signals she's already mapping her next 3 sentences. Before we dive into this incredible story, please hit that subscribe button and tell us in comments what you really think caused Bryan to completely lose it on live television. When Luke settles in, the environment seems to briefly halt. Chatter dies away, the hum of machinery drops to nothing, and even the audience's restlessness slows as though every soul present can sense an imminent collision. A wave of expectancy swells through the venue, subtle initially, then building momentum like water climbing just before it crashes. Joy's gaze sharpens with a trace of mischievous testing, and Luke's posture firms with the brand of composed authority that warns he hasn't walked in defenseless. The opening inquiry lands, polite on its face, yet sharpened beneath. It slices the room cleanly. Luke absorbs it, measures the weight, and allows the quiet to expand just enough to pull every pulse in the building into synchronization. Something shifts behind his expression, something the crowd registers but cannot yet identify, something that sends a unified ripple down every spine present. Behind the production monitors, a director catches her breath. A crew member halts mid-movement. Nobody knows what Luke will deliver next, yet everyone senses the ignition point has sparked. Because this exchange isn't rehearsed. This exchange carries genuine risk. This exchange marks the first fracture in what's about to become a seismic entertainment industry event. And somewhere inside that suspended stillness, the seed of a devastating response, one aimed directly at Joy, begins to take root. The brewing confrontation doesn't originate on live television. It germinates in the shadowed prep areas hours before the crowd arrives, hours before the lighting rigs flare to life, hours before anyone suspects they're about to bear witness to a collision that will shake the foundations of talk show programming. Backstage, the atmosphere crackles with a pressure that feels strangely sentient, reminiscent of the charged stillness just before electricity tears open the heavens. Bryan appears ahead of schedule, moving through the narrow, bustling passage with a partial grin that never fully reaches his expression. His footsteps resonate against the smooth concrete, each stride deliberate, measured, unwavering. Yet beneath that tranquil surface, something stirs. A mixture of interest, wariness, and the silent preparedness of someone who understands how swiftly dialogue can transform into combat. He straightens his collar, releases a breath, and permits the muted buzz of staff and technicians to flow around him. He's occupied countless platforms connected with endless audiences, weathered aggressive interviews and intense pressure. Yet this morning carries a distinct quality. Something in the environment suggests he should maintain heightened awareness. Joy Behar occupies her prep room, the entrance slightly open, mirror lights reflecting a countenance both weathered and resolute. She reviews her question prompts with a crisp, practiced cadence, her focus narrowing each time she pauses on one particular item, wrapped in tension, designed to ignite, deliberately selected. She taps the card edge against her workspace, a silent rhythm of anticipation building. She's not anxious. She's strategizing. She knows the viewers anticipate her characteristic bite, and she fully plans to satisfy that expectation. expectation. Yet even she registers something abnormal suspended in the space, an invisible caution she chooses to disregard. In the technical hub, directors exchange hushed, pressing tones, their attention flickering across display screens as though searching for comfort that simply doesn't exist. They understand Joy's agenda. They recognize Luke's standing, and they recognize this pairing holds the capacity to derail catastrophically. One rakes fingers through his scalp, exhaling deliberately as if attempting to discharge the pressure accumulating in his core. Another bites down on her lower lip, checking the clock as though it's counting toward a moment none of them possess the power to prevent. Still, silence prevails. Not aloud, not when the consequences loom this large, not when warning Joy or cautioning Luke might trigger the precise detonation they're attempting to sidestep. Meanwhile, just past the drapes, the audience filters in with animated conversation, utterly oblivious to the tempest assembling mere yards distant. They chuckle, claim their positions, capture photos, and speculate about which controversial subject the panel will address first. They don't observe the understated tension in the producer's frames. They don't register the floor manager circulating slightly faster than normal. They possess zero awareness they're about to observe a confrontation sharp enough to slice straight through the refined veneer of daytime broadcasting. Luke positions himself near the stage entrance, rolling his frame slightly, releasing the final traces of hesitation. His focus drifts toward Joy's outline as she emerges from her preparation space, practiced composure radiating from her presence like protective armor. Their sight lines connect for precisely one instant, just one. And in that fleeting connection, something unspoken ignites between them, something charged, something unstable, something that warns the cosmos that a boundary is about to be violated. The stage coordinator announces they're approaching live transmission, his tone constricted beyond usual. Luke acknowledges. Joy projects confidence. The crew stiffens. The audience applauds. Nobody anticipates what's approaching. Nobody anticipates how rapidly the climate will transform once questioning commences. Nobody anticipates they're positioned at the threshold of a moment that will detonate with sufficient intensity to reverberate throughout the entertainment capital. But the storm recognizes its nature. It's already animate, already expanding, already weaving itself through the venue's infrastructure. Waiting, prepared, about to erupt. The exchange initiates almost excessively softly, resembling a placid water surface concealing the undertow below. The studio illumination bathes the set in gentle radiance, the crowd tilting forward with relaxed expressions, unaware of the minor tremor coursing beneath the foundation. Luke Bryan positions himself with that recognizable Southern composure, presenting a courteous smile that generates a surge of appreciation. Joy Behar greets him with a luminous, nearly disarming inflection, her delivery coated in warmth yet carrying a boundary so delicate it's practically invisible. Briefly, everything registers as benign, nearly cordial, as though both participants are merely trading pleasantries in a serene environment instead of occupying positions beneath the searing spotlight of live broadcast. But then Joy raises her opening card. Her digits hesitate for scarcely a fraction of time. A microscopic pause so refined most observers overlook it. Luke doesn't. His vision tracks the gesture, slow and constant, like someone who's invested a lifetime interpreting an environment before making his initial move. The expression on Joy's countenance intensifies, though it no longer illuminates her gaze. She inclines inward, respiration controlled, bearing poised, and releases the initial inquiry with a gentleness deceptive enough to register as threatening. The instant the language exits her mouth, the climate pivots, not explosively, not audibly, but acutely, like an abrupt temperature descent that causes the rear of your neck to contract. Luke perceives the transformation immediately. The crowd registers it also, though they don't entirely comprehend why. Even the personnel behind the equipment straighten, their features tightening around the periphery as though preparing for something they cannot yet forecast. Luke permits the question to settle for one heartbeat, then another, his silence extended enough to densify the atmosphere, yet insufficient to appear uncertain. His jaw shifts marginally, the muscle contracting, then releasing, a subtle indicator only the nearest viewers would detect. His gaze flickers with something calibrated, something steady, as though he's calculating the precise gravity of Joy's opening maneuver. He responds courteously initially, his delivery a smooth, low resonance that occupies the volume without forcing against it. Yet the substance behind his language hints at a perimeter, a silent caution wrapped in calm composure. Joy angles her head, absorbing every element, his bearing, his inflection, the controlled intensity behind his vision, and her expression stretches marginally broader. She perceives it. He perceives it. The venue perceives it. The pressure begins to ripple externally, subtle enough to conceal inside the audience's laughter, yet powerful enough to vibrate through every chord of the dialogue. Luke adjusts minimally in his position, resetting his frame, anchoring himself with the variety of instinct a performer develops only after years standing beneath blinding illumination and volatile crowds. His palms remain motionless, positioned on his lap, yet his digits curl internally just a degree, a microscopic spark of concentration tightening within him. Joy advances to her subsequent point with a slow, calculated rhythm, her voice dipping into that recognizable fusion of humor and challenge. She circles back to his prior response with precision, pressing just sufficiently to cause the atmosphere to thicken again. The crowd chuckles, unaware they're stepping nearer to the flame. Luke examines her, his vision sharpening. His expression maintains equilibrium. Yet there's a flicker, swift, bright, unmistakable, like the initial spark catching on dry kindling. He leans inward marginally, responding with additional weight than previously. His inflection still constant, yet carrying a fresh undertone, one that hints he's completely aware of where Joy is navigating this vessel. He doesn't retreat, doesn't redirect. He confronts her directly, calm and unshaken. And in that precise instant, the temperature in the venue elevates a single, perceptible degree. A gentle shift, a silent warning, a signal that passes through the studio like a whisper from what's approaching. One of the directors inhales abruptly behind the camera. A crew member freezes mid-stride at the distant corner of the platform. Joy's expression twitches, small, fleeting, yet sufficient to reveal she registered the spark also. Luke maintains her gaze, permitting the silence to extend for a pulse longer than necessary. It strikes the venue like a slow, rolling percussion beat. The conversation progresses, with a softness that nearly feels misleading, the variety of gentle introduction that attempts to convince everyone present they're secure. Bryan reclines marginally, presenting a warm, effortless grin that attracts a surge of applause from the assembly. The illumination glows overhead, constant and serene, enveloping the set in an inviting warmth. Momentarily, it registers like the venue is settling into a comfortable cadence, a smooth choreography between host and visitor. That illusion persists precisely 5 seconds, Joy Behar's digits brush the boundary of her initial card, and the instant she glances downward, something in the atmosphere shifts. Luke captures it immediately. His vision tracks the movement with silent precision. The manner someone studies the first ripple in a motionless pond before the tempest breaks. Joy raises her gaze, smile luminous yet sharpened ever so slightly at the boundaries, and releases the first question with an inflection so light it nearly conceals the weight tucked inside it. Nearly. The language drops between them like a small stone striking water, transmitting a subtle shock wave across the desk. It's an inquiry wrapped in charm, dipped in humor, yet carrying an unmistakable undertone, a challenge dressed as casual curiosity. The audience chuckles softly, unaware of the sudden pulse of pressure that just shifted the venue's entire temperature. Luke registers it instantly. The force presses against his spine, not overwhelming, yet sufficient to compel him into sharper concentration. He exhales through his nostrils, the smallest release of breath, and straightens just a fraction in his chair. His smile remains courteous and polite, yet something steadier slips into his gaze, a watchfulness, a readiness. He responds with calm precision, his delivery smooth yet firm, each word positioned with deliberate care. He doesn't deflect. He doesn't falter. He simply confronts the question directly, with a clarity that causes the audience to lean forward, without understanding why. Joy studies him, her expression softening for a split moment before her gaze narrows marginally, a glimmer of calculation flickering beneath the surface. Luke's palm rests on his knee, digits barely tapping, small, subtle, a physical hint of the tightening coil inside him. Joy leans inward, elbows edging closer to the desk, her posture shifting into something more alert, more engaged, more prepared to press. The venue senses the transformation, even before anyone speaks again. The laughter quiets. The hum of backstage equipment fades into the background. A stillness stretches across the set, like a thick curtain slowly drifting downward. Joy's delivery lifts again, this time with additional edge, looping back to his response with a clever twist that nudges him toward a corner just wide enough to test him. Luke tilts his head slightly, gaze narrowing with a spark of controlled intensity. He's not angry. He's not rattled. Yet he's fully alert now, fully aware that this conversation is shifting into deeper waters. He leans forward with a slow, steady confidence, delivering his next line with a precision that cuts through the atmosphere cleanly. The audience reacts, a mix of laughter and surprise rising from their seats. Joy blinks once, quick, subtle, then recovers with a bright smile that feels tighter than before. Behind the cameras, a director stiffens. Another stops adjusting a monitor, frozen mid-motion. Luke notices everything. The tightening expressions, the shifting energy, the faint buzz of tension threading through the venue like electricity searching for a place to land. Joy lifts her next card. Luke's digits curl just slightly against his knee. The silence between them thickens, and in that suspended heartbeat, a silent realization settles over the studio, invisible yet undeniable, like the distant rumble of thunder rolling across an open sky. This is only the beginning. Everyone can sense it. Joy doesn't waste a moment. The instant the audience's reaction fades, she leans forward with a spark in her gaze that causes the crew to shift nervously behind the cameras. Her digits brush the next card, the paper bending ever so slightly beneath the pressure of her grip, and she releases another question. This one sharper, heavier, aimed with the precision of someone who knows precisely where to strike. The inflection remains light, nearly playful, yet the language slices clean through the atmosphere like a blade wrapped in velvet. Luke hears the shift before he fully processes the question. His posture straightens just a touch. His jaw tenses, a subtle, instinctive response, and the warmth in his smile cools into something steadier, something anchored. The pressure lands squarely between them, invisible yet dense, settling across the desk like a weight neither of them intends to lift. He responds without flinching, no hesitation, no stumble. His delivery stays controlled, low, threaded with a smoothness that masks the steel beneath it. Each word he selects lands with a silent clarity, firm enough to maintain the boundary, yet polished enough to preserve the tone civil. It's a balancing act, one he executes with the variety of composure that only years beneath blinding illumination can teach. Joy listens, nodding, that smile tightening into something thin and unreadable. She's not backing down. She circles back again, nudging the question from another angle, pressing with slightly more force this time, enough to cause the energy around them to flicker dangerously. The studio illumination seems to intensify. The audience shifts yet makes no sound. Every breath in the venue stalls, suspended between anticipation and dread. Luke lifts his chin slightly. His gaze narrows, not in anger, yet in focus. He's not permitting her to steer him into a corner. Not today. His reply comes sharper now, not impolite, yet undeniably firm. A boundary drawn with the variety of subtle precision that speaks louder than any raised voice ever could. A ripple runs through the audience, a soft gasp swallowed before it escapes fully, as though everyone realizes at once that the conversation has crossed an invisible threshold. The language between them transforms into weapons, not shouted, not explosive, yet pointed, intentional, each one edged with meaning. Joy fires another question. Luke meets it with a calm, slicing response. The temperature in the studio rises degree by degree until it registers like the atmosphere itself is vibrating. One of the co-hosts shifts uncomfortably, her smile faltering as she glances between the two of them. Another attempts to interject, voice light and overly cheerful, desperate to break the tension. Yet the moment she speaks, the energy on the set swallows her whole. Joy doesn't turn. Luke doesn't look away. The conversation belongs to them now, and everyone else has become an accessory to a duel they never saw coming. Joy's delivery sharpens, dipping into that unmistakable rhythm she uses when she's cornering a visitor. She tilts her head, eyebrow lifting in a challenge, and asks another question that lands like a small explosion on the desk. The audience goes silent, completely, utterly silent. Not even a cough, not even the rustle of clothing, just breathless, suspended stillness. Luke reacts with a single exhale, steady and controlled. His frame loosens, yet his gaze locks in, unshakable. He leans forward just enough to demonstrate he's not intimidated, not pushed off balance. His response comes wrapped in calm, yet charged with unmistakable force, a verbal counterpunch delivered with perfect precision. Even the cameras seem to lean closer, as though attempting to capture every flicker of detail on his countenance. The co-hosts glance at each other, their expressions tightening with worry. They can't interrupt. They can't stop it. They can only watch as the balance of power shifts right in front of them. Joy presses, yet Luke presses back, not with aggression, yet with a variety of grounded strength that begins to tilt the entire desk. Joy registers it. A flicker in her smile betrays her. Her gaze darts for the briefest moment to the directors, as though gauging whether she's ventured too far. Yet she returns to Luke almost immediately, refusing to demonstrate weakness. The silence between their exchanges grows heavier, longer, more charged. Every word becomes a selection. Every breath becomes a signal. Every shift of posture carries the weight of the battle unfolding in real time. And slowly, unmistakably, the power begins to move. It slides across the desk like a shadow changing direction. Luke's delivery steadies further. Joy's questions press harder yet land less cleanly. The audience senses the shift. Their attention locked on Luke now, drawn to the calm intensity rising behind his gaze. What began as a gentle interview is transformed into a collision course, and everyone in the studio, hosts, crew, audience, knows the storm has officially broken. The heat is rising, the balance is tipping, and the moment everything flips is approaching fast. The moment builds so gradually it's nearly imperceptible until it snaps all at once. Joy Behar leans inward, gaze sharp, posture lifted with the confidence of someone who believes she's about to land the final blow. The studio illumination flickers across her expression, revealing a glint that's equal parts daring and defiant. She inhales just barely and lets out the question that has been sitting at the boundary of this conversation like a loaded trap. It comes wrapped in her signature humor, yet the undercurrent is unmistakably pointed. The language spills into the atmosphere like a dropped match onto gasoline. The venue freezes. There isn't a breath, not a whisper, not even the rustle of fabric from the audience. It's as though the entire studio has been locked inside a single, suspended heartbeat. One camera zooms in on Luke's countenance, capturing the instant his gaze widens, not in shock, yet in recognition of precisely what Joy is attempting to do. Another angle cuts to the audience, mouths parted, gaze stretched, waiting for something they can't name, yet can sense in their bones. Luke doesn't move initially. His palms remain motionless on his lap, digits loose, posture controlled, yet his jaw sets with a silent, decisive click. The temperature in the venue shifts again, sharper this time, as though someone opened a door and permitted in a rush of cold atmosphere. Luke lifts his gaze, constant and unblinking, and the camera locks onto him as though it knows history is about to unfold in a single sentence. Joy projects confidence, the variety of expression that says she thinks she's taken the upper hand. Yet the expression flickers just once when Luke finally moves. He leans forward, slow and deliberate, planting his elbows lightly on his knees. The illumination catches the steel in his gaze, the calm intensity simmering just beneath the surface. He permits the silence to stretch, permits it to saturate the venue until the pressure tightens like a wire about to snap. When he speaks, his delivery is low, clear, and impossibly calm, a direct contrast to the chaos ripping through the studio's atmosphere. His language cuts through the atmosphere with surgical precision, sharp enough to cause the audience collectively flinch. It's not loud, it's not angry, it's controlled power, a verbal strike delivered with the ease of someone who knows precisely how devastating honesty can be when it's spoken without fear. In the audience, someone gasps. Another person mutters, "Oh my God," beneath their breath. The camera nearest Luke wobbles slightly as the operator instinctively reacts to the explosion unfolding. Joy's expression collapses. Her gaze widens with the first visible crack of surprise, her mask slipping just enough to reveal the shock beneath. She attempts to respond, yet no sound emerges. Her throat tightens. Her digits curl against the boundary of the desk, gripping hard enough to turn her knuckles white. The remaining hosts shift uneasily, their expressions a tangled mix of panic and disbelief. One of them attempts to jump in, voice trembling with forced cheer, yet stops midway as she realizes the moment is too large to interrupt. The control room erupts into frantic movement. Directors waving their palms, sound engineers scrambling, someone yelling to switch, camera angles. Red indicators blink across the board like an alarm. Yet on the main floor, everything registers frozen. Luke reclines again, calm, collected, almost impossibly composed. The intensity behind his gaze has settled into something even more dangerous: certainty. He knows precisely what he just did. The audience knows. Joy knows. Everyone on set registers the seismic shift as the power on that desk slams fully, decisively into his palms. Joy finally exhales, shaky and uneven. She looks down at her cards, searching for an anchor that simply isn't there anymore. The silence becomes its own character, heavy and suffocating, pressing down on every corner of the studio. The audience shifts in their seats, torn between awe and shock, unsure whether to clap, gasp, or simply stare. One of the cameras moves in closer on Joy's countenance, capturing the stunned stillness in her expression. Another swings back to Luke, capturing the silent strength radiating off him, the variety that doesn't need volume to dominate a venue. Time registers fractured, stretching, warping, bending around the impact of what's just been said. Then, like a dam finally cracking, the audience erupts. Some cheer, some shout, some simply stare forward, palms over their mouths. The hosts exchange frantic glances. Joy attempts to recover, yet the language falters on her lips. Nothing she says now can undo what just happened. The View, known for its storms, has never felt a shockwave like this. The moment doesn't merely land, it shatters everything. The shockwave doesn't stay contained within the walls of the studio. It bursts externally the instant the cameras cut to commercial, racing through the building like thunder rolling down a canyon. Directors rush from their stations with frantic whispers, countenances pale, gaze wide, the magnitude of what just unfolded striking them all at once. In the control room, someone mutters, "This is going to blow up," and another replies, "It already has." Outside the studio, the world reacts with the speed of lightning. Clips of the confrontation strike social media within minutes, grainy phone recordings from audience members shaking with adrenaline as they upload the footage. On Twitter, posts multiply like sparks jumping from a wildfire, each replayed second fueled by disbelief and excitement. The language, "Did you see that?" floods timelines. Hashtags explode. Comment sections ignite. Some defend Luke with fierce devotion. Others rally behind Joy with equal intensity. The digital arena becomes its own battleground. Millions of gazes locked on the moment that shattered the calm facade of daytime television. Celebrities begin weighing in before the episode even finishes airing on the West Coast. Country stars, comedians, actors, talk show personalities, all stepping into the fray with opinions that only fan the flames higher. Some praise Luke for staying composed under pressure. Some applaud Joy for pushing boundaries. Others simply express shock, admitting they haven't seen a daytime moment hit this hard in years. Every comment becomes a headline. Every headline becomes fuel. Hollywood gossip sites pounce instantly. Articles erupt across the internet with dramatic titles, flashing thumbnails, and quotes pulled from every imaginable angle. Analysts debate what the clash means. Commentators pick apart posture, inflection, and each micro-expression. Every frame becomes evidence. Every breath becomes a storyline. Paparazzi swarm outside the View studio, eager to catch even a hint of fallout. Inside the building, a crisis meeting snaps into motion. Directors gather around a long conference table, voices tense, the atmosphere thick with urgency. They replay the clip again and again, analyzing every second, attempting to decide how to address the chaos already spiraling beyond their control. Some worry about backlash. Some worry about ratings. Most worry about the fact that nothing like this has ever hit their show with such force. Language like damage control, Public statement and emergency response echo through the venue like warning bells. Meanwhile, Luke steps into a silent hallway, phone vibrating nonstop in his pocket. Messages from friends flood in, some cheering him on, others checking if he's okay. Fans swarm his mentions with fire emojis, applause, and disbelief. A few critics go after him with harsh language, yet he scrolls past those with a slow breath, steady and unshaken. He knows the moment was significant. He knows it hit harder than anyone expected. Yet he also knows he said what he believed, and that certainty anchors him in the middle of the storm. Joy retreats to her dressing room, closing the door with a soft click, frame tightening as she sinks into a chair. She scrolls through her own notifications, some supportive, others brutal. Her fans rally behind her with fierce loyalty, defending her language, her inflection, her stance. Yet the backlash hits hard also. She exhales long and slow, fingertips pressing against her temples, attempting to steady herself against the avalanche of noise pouring through her phone. Outside, the studio hallway buzzes with whispers. Crew members exchange stunned looks, replaying the moment in their minds like a scene from a movie they can't quite believe was real. One mutters, "We just made history." Another whispers, "History or trouble?" It's impossible to know the difference yet. What everyone does know is this: the confrontation didn't end when the camera stopped rolling. It spread fast, fierce, unstoppable, through Hollywood, social media, and every corner of the entertainment world. The moment has taken on a life of its own, growing by the minute, shaping narratives, dividing opinions, and pulling millions into its gravitational field. The studio is no longer just a studio, it's the epicenter of an earthquake still sending tremors across the world. When the cameras finally go dark and the chaos of the moment begins to thin, the truths no one dared to voice start slipping through the cracks. Behind closed doors, away from the noise of social media and the blinding illumination of the studio, the deeper motivations on both sides slowly surface like shadows rising from the floor. Luke sits quietly in a small waiting venue, the buzz of his phone muffled by the cushion beside him. He isn't angry. He isn't rattled. He's thoughtful, replaying every word with the calm clarity of someone who knows precisely why he reacted the manner he did. He had walked into that studio prepared to be challenged, prepared to defend himself, yet not prepared for the variety of loaded moment Joy triggered. Yet somewhere deep inside, he knew that boundary had been waiting for him long before today. Joy, in her own space, confronts a different truth. The question she asked, the one that ignited everything, wasn't improvised. It wasn't accidental. It was selected. A card she debated, a card she hesitated on, a card she ultimately kept because she felt she had to press, had to test, had to provoke something real, something raw. She didn't expect the explosion, yet she sparked it knowingly. And now she faces the aftermath of a selection she made long before Luke sat across from her. Down the hallway, the crew whispers in low, stunned voices. One stagehand recounts how he felt the atmosphere change seconds before the final blow. A camera operator swears he saw Luke's gaze shift just before his now infamous line, like a signal only those closest could sense. A director mutters that they had feared precisely this variety of moment would erupt someday. Just not today, not like this, not with those two. Little details begin to trickle out. Someone mentions Joy had scrapped 3 earlier questions right before the show. Someone else recalls Luke pacing more than usual backstage. Another reveals that the control room had prepared 2 backup segments, just in case. A decision that now registers eerily prophetics. In the quiet after the storm, with truth finally unmasked, one thing becomes painfully clear. That confrontation wasn't born out of a single question. It was years of pressure, perspective, expectation, and tension converging into one explosive second. And everyone who witnessed it knows there was far more beneath the surface than the world ever saw. In the days that follow, the moment begins to settle into Hollywood lore, retold and replayed with the variety of reverence normally reserved for iconic movie scenes. Commentators call it a turning point. Fans call it unforgettable. Insiders whisper that it marks the beginning of a shift, one where unscripted truth cuts sharper than any planned segment ever could. The significance doesn't lie only in the clash itself, yet in what it revealed. Luke's calm intensity, Joy's unwavering press, the collision of two forces who believed in their perspectives strongly enough to permit the world watch them collide. It becomes a reminder that even in the polished world of daytime television, real emotion still has the power to break through the perfect veneer. Weeks later, people still talk about the silence right before Luke delivered his defining line. The manner the audience gasped, the manner Joy's mask slipped, the manner the camera caught every tiny flicker of expression as though documenting a piece of history. It becomes a reference point, a story told on late-night shows, podcasts, fan forums, and behind closed doors in industry meetings. Everyone has a take. Everyone has an angle. Everyone has a moment burned into their memory from that day. Hollywood has a long history of dramatic confrontations, yet this one hits different. This one carries the weight of authenticity, the rawness of two people who refuse to step back, the emotional electricity that can only spark when the stakes feel personal. And long after the noise fades, long after new controversies attempt to take its place, the moment remains quiet, unshakable, unmistakable. A reminder that sometimes reality slips through the cracks of entertainment and becomes something unforgettable. A moment that will be remembered. A moment that will be replayed. A moment that, in its own intense and unexpected manner, transforms the landscape forever. If you found this story as gripping as we did, hit that like button and let us know what you think happened behind those studio walls. This is Briefing Bureau, bringing you the untold stories that shape our world.